Am I the a-hole for reporting my parents to the IRS after they drained my college fund and lied about their finances? I'm Luke, 27 male, and I'm the oldest of 3 kids in my family. My parents, Bob 56 male and Sheila 54 female, are hardworking people who have always been pretty straightforward about their finances, or so I thought. We grew up in a small town just outside of Cleveland, Ohio. My dad worked in construction and my mom was a nurse. We were never wealthy, but we got by, and my parents always emphasized the importance of education and saving for the future. When I was 16, my parents opened a college savings account for me. They told me it would be there for when I went to college, so I wouldn't have to worry about student loans. They made a big deal about saving for my future, and I trusted them completely. After high school, I went to a state university and graduated debt-free, thanks to the college fund my parents had set up for me. Or so I thought. Flash forward to a few months ago, I'm in my first real job, doing well for myself, and things are going fine. But recently, I started talking with my younger brother, Nate, 24 male, about his own finances. He's been in college, and I wanted to see if he needed any help with his student loans. That's when I found out something that blew my mind. "Nate, how's the loan situation?" I asked, genuinely concerned. "Still paying down those student loans?" He shook his head. "Not really, man. The thing is, I never had much of a college fund to begin with. I was just talking to Dad the other day about it." "Wait, what do you mean?" "I thought Mom and Dad had a college fund set up for you," I said, confused. "Well, that's the thing," Nate said. "Dad told me they had some money set aside, but I don't think it was enough to cover anything significant. They always said it was for both of us. I think it's why I had to take out loans in the first place. That didn't sit right with me. I was starting to feel uneasy, so I decided to ask my parents about it directly. After all, I was under the impression that they had set up a decent college fund for all of us, especially given how they made such a big deal about saving for our future. I didn't want to accuse them of anything, but I was starting to question if everything was really as it seemed. A couple of nights later, I sat down with my mom and dad after dinner. We were just having some small talk when I decided to bring up the college fund. "So, I was talking to Nate about his student loans," I started, trying to sound casual, "and he mentioned that he didn't have much of a college fund to work with. Is that true?" Bob looked over at Sheila, and they exchanged an uneasy glance. I noticed it immediately. They hadn't planned on me asking about this. "What do you mean?" Bob asked, trying to sound casual but failing miserably. "I mean, I thought you guys had set up a college fund for both Nate and me, like you told me you did for me," I said, my voice a little firmer now. But Nate's saying he didn't get much help. There was a long silence before Sheila finally spoke. "Well, things have been tight, Luke. You know we've always done our best for you kids. But sometimes, things don't always go the way you plan." "I don't understand," I said, my frustration growing. "You guys told me that the fund was set up for me when I went to college. That it was going to cover tuition so I wouldn't have to worry about loans. Was that not true?" Bob sighed and rubbed his temples. "Luke, the truth is, the money we set aside for your college fund got drained. It's all gone." My heart dropped. "What do you mean it's gone? You drained it?" "It was for other things," Sheila said quietly. "Things we needed to take care of. We didn't have a choice." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You took the money that was meant for my future, my education, and spent it on what exactly? Why didn't you tell me about this earlier?" Bob looked guilty, but Sheila cut in. "It wasn't like that, Luke. We didn't mean for things to go like this. Your father and I had to use the money to cover some bills when things got tough. The house needed repairs, and we had medical expenses. It wasn't something we planned." I felt a rush of anger. "You took my college fund to cover bills? You didn't think I should have been part of that conversation? I trusted you both with that money." That conversation left me reeling. I couldn't believe what I had just heard. I'd worked hard to get through school, and they had always made me believe that everything would be fine financially because of that fund. And now, here I was, learning that they'd used it without consulting me, without even mentioning it. But it didn't stop there. I began to dig deeper, looking into the finances of the house and asking more pointed questions about where the money had gone. After a few more conversations with my parents, it became clear that the situation was worse than I had imagined. Not only had they drained my college fund, but they had lied about their financial situation for years. They had been dipping into my education savings to cover their own poor spending habits. And when I looked at their income and debt, I realized they were living far beyond their means, constantly maxing out credit cards and borrowing money from family members. It was a disaster. That's when I realized the scale of the deception. They had stolen from my future, lied to me about their financial situation, and acted like everything was fine. But nothing was fine. They had put me in a position where I had no choice but to take out loans after all. The emotional impact of this realization was devastating. I took some time to process everything, but I finally came to a decision. I couldn't let them get away with this. I couldn't let them continue to live in denial about their financial irresponsibility. After all, they had lied to me about something so crucial, something that had affected my entire life. It wasn't just a matter of finances anymore, it was about trust, honesty, and the future I had worked so hard to build. That's when I decided to report them to the IRS. I knew this was extreme, but I couldn't allow them to manipulate me any longer. They had lied about their income, used my savings, and mismanaged their finances to the point where I felt like I needed to make a statement. I filed a report for tax evasion, and although I didn't expect them to go to jail or anything, I wanted to make sure they faced consequences for their actions. The aftermath was immediate and intense. I wasn't prepared for how things would escalate. The first call came from my dad. "Luke, what did you do?" His voice was a mix of disbelief and anger. "You went to the authorities about this? You don't understand how serious this is." "I understand perfectly, Dad," I said, my voice calm but firm. "You lied to me, you took my college fund, and you've been living beyond your means for years. I don't trust you anymore." My mom got on the phone next. "Luke, how could you do this to your family? We raised you, and this is how you repay us? You've ruined everything." I felt a pang of guilt, but it was quickly replaced by a sense of relief. I had taken the right step. They needed to face the consequences of their actions. The truth needed to come out, no matter how painful. So, here I am, asking, am I the a-hole for reporting my parents to the IRS after they drained my college fund and lied to me about their finances?